Throughout history, some rivalries have been settled in the most intense way possible, a fight to the death. Here are the most legendary one-on-one duels ever fought, where lives, reputations, and sometimes even nations were at stake. Our journey starts in 14th century France, where two best friends, Jean de Carrouges and Jacques le Gris, went from loyal comrades to sworn enemies, leading to one of the most high-stakes duels of the medieval era. These two squires fought side by side in the 100 Years' War, even becoming like family. But their friendship couldn't survive the jealousy and betrayal that tore them apart. After a new noble began favoring Jacques over Jean, their once strong bond fell apart. Tragedy struck Jean when his wife and young son passed away, leading him to flee Normandy for England. When he returned years later, a celebrated hero, he remarried, hoping to find peace. But during a celebration, Jacques took things too far by assaulting Jean's new wife, Marguerite. While Jean was away, Jean returned, furious, and took his appeal for justice straight to the king, demanding a trial by combat. In December 1386, in front of a huge crowd, Jean faced off against Jacques in a brutal, bloody battle. Jean won, clearing his wife's name and putting an end to one of the most intense feuds of the medieval era. But as we'll see, his wasn't the only duel sparked by betrayal and pride. Now, let's move from the fields of France to the shores of Japan, where another legendary showdown was about to unfold. In 1612, Miyamoto Musashi, one of Japan's most famous swordsmen, prepared to duel Sasaki Kojiro, an equally renowned warrior known for his lethal swallow cut technique. Like Jean and Jacques, their duel was also charged with pride and personal stakes. Musashi arrived late to the duel, intentionally angering Kojiro and setting him on edge. As Musashi approached, he carried a crude wooden sword he'd carved from an oar, a strategy to both taunt and outmaneuver his opponent. Kojiro, already furious, attacked with his giant Nodachi sword. Musashi dodged his move, blinding Kojiro by positioning himself against the sun, and struck him down with a single blow, ending the duel before it truly began. Musashi's blend of cunning and skill made this one of the most memorable duels in Japanese history, a tale of tactics triumphing over raw skill. But duels weren't confined to blades alone. In America, an equally intense duel played out in the early 1800s, this time with pistols. Our next duel takes us to 1806 America, where pride and honor clashed once again, this time between future U.S. President Andrew Jackson and expert marksman Charles Dickinson. Like Musashi, Jackson used strategy in a fight where his opponent held the advantage. The feud started over a horse race, but quickly escalated when Dickinson insulted Jackson's wife. Jackson, famous for his fierce temper, challenged Dickinson to a duel, even though Dickinson was known as one of the best shots in Tennessee. When they faced off, Dickinson fired first, hitting Jackson and the chest, but Jackson, incredibly, stayed on his feet. In an intense moment of defiance, he raised his pistol and took his time to aim, hitting Dickinson squarely and killing him. Jackson's survival and refusal to back down secured his reputation as a man of unyielding resolve, setting a tone that would follow him to the presidency. Now let's move to another arena of honor, this time on the high seas, where courage and resistance defied even the most powerful of navies. Our fourth duel takes place on the water in 1591 during England's war with Spain. Sir Richard Grenville, captain of the English ship Revenge, was surrounded and heavily outnumbered by Spanish forces led by Admiral Lope de Vega. Unlike Jackson's one-on-one duel, this was a standoff against overwhelming odds, yet Grenville's defiance made it legendary. Despite facing more than 50 ships with a crew of only 150 men, Grenville fought fiercely, refusing to surrender. For over 15 hours, Revenge held off the Spanish forces, with Grenville fighting on despite his severe injuries. Though he ultimately lost and died, his resistance became a symbol of bravery, inspiring future naval battles and showing that sometimes courage itself is a weapon. But in the American West, a different kind of courage was needed. A quick draw, fast aim, and deadly accuracy. Our last duel brings us to the Old West, where quick-draw gunfights became a hallmark of American folklore. In 1865, gunslinger Wild Bill Hickok faced gambler Davis Tutt in Springfield, Missouri, in one of the first Old West duels over pride and honor. Their feud started over gambling debts, but the real insult came when Tutt publicly wore Hickok's prized watch as a taunt. The two men squared off in the town square, each with a single bullet to make their mark. At 75 yards, Hickok shot Tutt square in the chest, killing him instantly. This iconic showdown would set the stage for countless Western tales of standoffs and shootouts, cementing Hickok's reputation as one of the greatest gunfighters of his time. These legendary duels, from medieval France to the shores of Japan and the Old West, show us that when pride, honor, or revenge are at stake, people are willing to risk everything, even life itself. Each battle left an indelible mark on history, proving that the human spirit, fierce and unyielding, often shines brightest when it faces impossible odds.